here. I'm here today to do my December reading wrap-up. I have waited to the last possible minute to do this video because I really wanted to finish the book that I was reading before I finished this thing, and I was able to complete it, so now I can officially do my December wrap-up. I had a really, really good reading month. I read 13 books. I don't think I've read this many books since the summer, and that is largely because grad school is officially over. Yay! I completed grad school. I completed student teaching. I wound up getting a 3.8 for my entire grad school GPA, which is probably the best I've ever done in college ever. And then I wound up passing my final teaching exam, which is super exciting, which means I have officially completed everything I had to do for grad school, and I cannot stop job hunting until about the summer. So you guys will be getting a lot more content from me. But I had a really good reading month. I read 13 books. I've been listening to a bunch of stuff. I just haven't finished any books. Listening, that is. And I also did a readathon, so let's get into it. So the first book I finished reading in the month of December was Ice Wolves by Amy Kaufman. And this is a middle grade novel. It does not come out until March. I had most of this collection of books, and most of them are arcs, but I literally cannot wait to read this, and I wanted to read it before I got to meet Amy Kaufman, and I'm meeting her in the middle of January. I really love this book. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was so fun. I just love the story. And I will be doing a wrap-up review about this, like a wrap-up video closer to March. I'll probably film it shortly. But overall, I thought it was adorable, and I really liked Amy Kaufman's writing. If you've listened to my channel before, you know how much I love twin books. But I will definitely be doing a video review of this closer to in March when the book comes out. But overall, I really liked it, and it was such a fun book. So if you're looking for a fun middle grade come March, I highly recommend you check out Ice Wolves by Amy Kaufman. The next book that I read is Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I read this book from my friend Sarah for officially a year, and I finally got around to reading it. And I'm really glad that I read it. I really read this because Cruel Prince is coming out. I know that they are both set in the same exact world, and there will be somewhat many connections between the books. I did like this book. I gave it 3 stars. I know that people are fangirling over Cruel Prince. Like, everyone that I have watched videos that have read it simply adore it, so I'm so excited to start it. And this book was okay. I really did like her fairy world, and I did like her characters. I wanted a little bit more from them, so I'll be curious to see what she does with a series now that she has, and how this book ties into the Cruel Prince world and what are the connections. So I will definitely report back when I finish reading Cruel Prince and see if I should recommend you read it before you read Cruel Prince, because I've heard both accounts, so I will be sure to give you my own thoughts. But overall, I liked it, and I gave it like 3.5 stars. It's definitely a darker fairy novel, but much more based in the human world. But I really did enjoy it, and I would recommend maybe reading it before you read Cruel Prince, so you will see the connections, but I don't think it's necessary. From Harper Teen, and it is an ebook that actually comes out January 2nd, and it is called Together at Midnight by Jennifer Castle. Scavenger hunt or like, something like that. So any books that have like a scavenger hunt or like a quest in contemporary, I really, really love it, and I really love this book. I gave this book like 3.5 stars. It was definitely a holiday-themed contemporary, and actually takes place right around New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so it's a perfect time to read it. Follows these 2 characters, Kendall and Max, and they wind up becoming like intertangled to each other when they wind up being given a dare to do 12 or several random acts of kindness, and it kind of follows them. And I really like the structure of this book because it follows not only them, but also there was point of view chapters from the people that they did these random acts of kindness for, and I really did like the structure of it. I thought the pacing of the novel could have been a little bit stronger. Like, I wanted the pacing to be a little bit faster in some parts because I wanted to get to the random acts of kindness a little bit quicker, but overall I thought that it was a really, really good way to structure a story, and I really enjoyed the character dynamics that happen and where the Kendall and Max were in the story. I thought that was really interesting. I thought that Kendall's and Max both had really interesting character growth, and I really did enjoy that, and I was impressed by that. So I would definitely be curious to get more books by Jennifer Castle in the future. I know she's written a couple of books, but overall I was really impressed by it, and I gave it like 3.5 stars. It was definitely a really fun holiday themed read, so I highly recommend if you are looking for a fun, cute holiday contemporary that you check it out. Book Off in the City for a ridiculously cheap price, and I actually heard about this on the Owl Crate YouTube channel where the middle grade lady was talking about books, and this is a holiday middle grade contemporary, and it's about these. First of all, let's just say that this was one of my highlight reads of the month. I really adored this, and it takes place in New York City and right near my college, City College, and City College actually makes a cameo in this book, which was amazing. So it follows this family, a really big family, and they're living in New York City, and right before Christmas Eve, their landlord decides that they are going to try to evict them, and these kids do not want to leave their home where they grew up in. So they make it their goal to try to convince their evil landlord that they should be able to stay. And it sets across a bunch of like adventures and schemes, and it's so much fun. I really love this book. And I thought that even though the characters were young, and I will talk about this, they were so well-rounded and so engaging, and I just really enjoyed it. It was such a fun read, very holiday themed, very New York City themed, and I really enjoyed it. And I know that we are definitely going to get a sequel from these characters eventually, and I will definitely be picking it up. But this was such a fun read. Definitely my favorite of my 3 holiday reads that I did. And I really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for a belated holiday read that has a really fun cast of characters, and also normally in middle grade when there is like something happens and the kids need to save the day, the adults are nowhere to be seen, but the adults actually had a presence in this book, and I loved it. So I highly recommend this for that reason, but also for the wonderfully rounded cast of characters and just the story. So this was definitely one of my highlight reads of the month. About is another arc, and this arc is from Penguin, and it comes out in mid-January, and it is Reign of the Fallen. A full non-spoiler review of this book. I don't think it's up yet, but it will be up soon. But this book follows a society where there's this girl named Odessa, and she has been trained to be a necromancer, and the ruling family is basically zombie. They're dead people, but you could be brought back to life, but you have to be under a shroud, which means no one can see you, because if someone sees you, you become a zombie. And it was such a fun read. I really loved it. There was definitely a heavy LGBTQ story in this, and I really loved how it was built. There was a lot of unexpected twists and turns in this story. The pacing was a little bit shaky at points, but I think that it was because of the structure of the novel. And there was also like a lot of unexpected topics handled in this that I was not expecting, but I really did love like the world building, and I loved how the characters, the basic thing, the premise was that because the ruling family were zombies, there was no change in the society, and I really liked dealing with that and finding how no change really affected them and affected the characters. I really did like the lead character. I really did like Odessa and all the characters that we interacted with, and it definitely did become like an ensemble piece towards the end. I'm really excited to see where book 2 goes, because it kind of ended on like a game-changing note, and we said we will be getting a book 2, but definitely check out my non-spoiler review and my blog post where I go into more details. But this was definitely like a 4-star read for me. I wound up reading was Between the Blade and the Heart by Amanda Hocking. To me and asked if I wanted to review this book, and then asked me to be on the blog tour, so there will be a blog post about this, and there will be a giveaway from St. Martin's Press, so be sure you guys look for that review on my blog, and as long as you guys are subscribed to my blog, you guys can enter it. So I will be sure to do maybe a non-spoiler review and make a video about that as well this week, so keep a nose out for that. But I really did enjoy this book. This book was like the first Amanda Hocking book that I read. I gave it like 4 stars. I think it was like 3 or 4 stars. Let me look. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. And I really did like the world building. It basically follows this girl who is a Valkyrie, and her job is to like kill demons who have lived over their life, and she gets orders passed down from her, and that's what she has to do. She has to kill demons. And I thought the world was so fascinating. I really liked the lead character. I loved everything about the story. I loved all the twists and turns of the story. Basically the story is that you follow this girl and she is tasked to the Valkyries, so she has to kill these people, but when something about her mother turns up, that maybe her mother hasn't been doing her job, it turns not only her world upside down, but also the whole world upside down. And I thought that it was a really interesting story. I really loved it. I was really, really engrossed by it. The one negative part of this was the romance. There was LGBTQ part of the story that I really, really liked, but then there was another romance that just I felt like wasn't the best route for the story because I was not invested in it at all. And the sad part of it is that I really did like both characters in the romance. I just didn't want them together. I thought the ending is really interesting, so I'll definitely be checking out book 2, and this book 2 actually comes out in April, so I'll definitely be checking that out. Just the romance, I think, kind of made me like the story a little bit less, and I wasn't as invested in the key romance of it, because it was like, I just thought it was like a little bit predictable, but I really did love the world building, and the characters, and the plot and stuff. I was really engaged in that. I just wasn't as engaged in the romance as much as they wanted me to be. But overall, I gave it 4 stars, and if you're looking for kind of a unique Norse story, I would highly recommend that you check it out. I'm a big fan of the Magnus Chase stories, and Valkyries are in that, but this is definitely a different take on it, and I will definitely be checking out book 2 when it comes out, and I think it comes out in April. And be sure to remember to go enter the giveaway on my blog when my post is posted. Another book that comes out in January, and it is Unearthed by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I really wanted to read this book before I went to the signing, and I was really happy that I did. This is another space adventure and another co-authored book by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I really love their Starbound series, and this book was definitely a real pleasure to read. I gave it 4 stars overall, and I really enjoyed it. But it basically follows these 2 characters named Jules and Amelia, and Jules is a scholar and Amelia is a scavenger, and they wind up going to this new planet because that is where the Undying, this race of creatures, have tech, and they're kind of going on an adventure to try to figure out what is going on. They both have past, they both have issues, and they both have reasons for being on their planet, but when their paths unexpectedly align, they have to sort of rely on each other to get to the end of their mystery and figure out what's actually going on this planet and what actually happened to the Undying. It was such a fun story. I really, really loved it. It's definitely Lara Croft Tomb Raider in space. And I did do a review about this, so if you want more information, go there. But I really loved it. I thought that the pacing, again, was a little bit troublesome, and some of the Lara Croft Tomb Raider parts, for me, became a little bit confusing, but that, I'm sure, is just because I am not the best with stuff like that. But I really loved it. I love the characters. I think Jules became my new book boyfriend because he's so adorable. And I really, really enjoyed it. And the ending was really, really surprising to me, so I have to wait a year, but I will definitely be checking out book 2. And I'm really, sorry, I'm still struggling with a little bit of a cold. But I'm really excited to hear them talk about it, and maybe they will tease us a little bit about the next book. But I will definitely report back if they share any interesting tidbits at the signing. But I gave this 4 stars, and I'm really excited for you guys to go check it out, and I highly recommend you guys check it out when it comes out in January. And the real cover for this book is even more pretty. I will admit was probably the most disappointing book of the month, and this is The 12 Years of Krissa by Marissa Burt. I had such high hopes for this novel. I love scavenger novels. The concept sounded really cool. This is my 3rd holiday-themed book, and definitely my least favorite that I read in the month, but also out of the holiday-themed novels. It follows this girl named Krista, and she's a holiday junkie, but when she finds out right before Christmas that her parents are getting a divorce, and instead of staying in Chicago, she is going with her mom, who's an actress, to Europe because her mom's an actor, is going on a 3-country tour. Her world is kind of turned upside down, but her father decides to try to make this experience a little bit better for her and sets up a scavenger hunt across these 3 countries. I will admit the scavenger hunt was really, really fun. I loved the adventure, and I loved going to London, Paris, and Italy. And I love the countries, but the main character I did not like at all. I know she was young. She was like 13, so maybe that was the reason that I really just could not stand. But she was annoying. She bothered me, and I didn't understand her reactions to anything. So I thought the concept was super cool, but the character I had no love for her, and the end didn't even redeem her in my mind. But again, she's 13, so it's been a while since I read a character that young And even when I do read characters that young, they're normally caught up in like a fantasy story or a fantasy world. So I just could not connect with her at all. But I thought the concept was really, really cool. So the concept was definitely what got me through the story, but the characters did not. I loved all the other characters in the story. I loved the setting. I just wanted a little bit more out of the lead character. But if you're looking for a cute scavenger hunt themed around the holidays, I would recommend it. I would just warn you, the character growth in this is not all that amazing. So I only wound up giving it 3 stars, and it was definitely my most disappointing book of the month. Tracks, I read my favorite book of the month by far, and it is Everlist by Sarah Hollins. This book comes out the first week of January, and I adored this book. Gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. I did my own non-spoiler review. You can definitely go read my blog post. Boy, did this book impress me. I really, really loved it. Basically follows a girl named Jules, and her world is that your blood can be turned into currency. So if you're in debt, then you have a shorter life because blood is money, and when you have no more blood, you die, basically. But I really love this story. I thought that it was so well done, and there was a very, really hardcore mystery in this, and I loved fantasy and science fiction novels that have a really, really strong mystery, but I really, really loved the lead character. There was a lot of unexpected twists and turns. The mystery was super surprising and super shocking. It was definitely a darker fantasy, but I really enjoyed it. The ending was super surprising as well, and I really need book 2 like tomorrow. Was really, really impressed. So if you do not have this on your pre-order list or your to-read list in January, you must do it. This cover is so pretty, so it really, really deserves to be on your shelf. This is definitely going on my keep shelf. And if it was not so cold in New York City, I would probably go see her on Thursday because she's going to do a signing at Manali Jackson. But it is really, really frigid in New York right now, so I might not wind up going. But just know that this book definitely should be on your TBR for January when it comes out. And if you have any more, want to know anything more or more specific about it, go check out my non-spoiler review and my video discussion. But really loved it. Gave it 5 stars. Definitely my highlight read of the month. During this time when I was reading a lot or listening to a lot, I wound up watching a lot of booktubeathon videos and readathon videos, and I got highly motivated to do my own readathon, so I did. And you can definitely check out my readathon vlog and my TBR, but I'm just going to recap here the books that I read. So the first book I read was a review book for Entangled Teen, and it was Pretty Dead Girls by Monica Murphy. This girl, and they are living, I think, in California, and it follows this girl named Penelope, and there is a murder in her school that she is connected to, but when there's a rash of murders and all the murders are seemingly connected to her, she kind of goes on kind of adventure to find out who the killer is. I really did like the way the story was told, and I loved how we got chapters. If you've watched my psychological thriller reviews for a while, you know I love when we get into the mind of the killer. I was a psych major for a really, really long time, and I just love books like that. So I really, really love like the structure of the novel, and I loved the pacing of the novel. I thought that the other characters, other than the lead girl and boy, were a little bit one-dimensional, and they weren't as well drawn as I wanted them to be, and I just didn't always understand their motivations. But overall, I thought that it was a really, really fun read. It definitely kept me guessing and kept me turning the page. I couldn't predict the end. I didn't know who the killer was, which was actually super surprising to me. So if you're looking for a kind of a fun thriller and like a psychological mystery a little bit with a little bit of creepy and horror, it definitely is a little bit gory and bloody, I would recommend it. I really liked all the aspects of the book. Just the other characters in it, other than the leads, were a little bit underdeveloped to me. But I would definitely consider reading more by Monica Murphy if she writes more out of romance, because pure romance books aren't always my thing, and that's normally what she writes. But overall, I was actually really impressed with it, and I gave it like 3.5 stars. Basically in one whole day, and that is Blood Rose Rebellion by Rosalind Ives. I got this book 2 years ago from New York City Comic Con, and I actually really enjoyed this book. I gave this book like 3 stars, and I think I would have enjoyed this book a lot more if I didn't choose to read it during a readathon, because I had to finish it because I wanted to read more books. I wanted to finish this basically in one whole day. So I think I would have definitely enjoyed this if it wasn't a readathon book, but it basically follows this girl named Anna, and basically everyone in her society is born with magic. She is not, but what she can do is she can break spells. So when her sister is being confirmed or brought into society and she's doing a conjuring, interesting. Anna unfortunately breaks her spell, and that sends her somewhere else, and she has to basically be spirited away so that no one just tries to test her. And she winds up going to several different countries, and it kind of sends her on a venture to figure out what type of magic does she actually have. It was a really interesting political, like there was a lot of political stuff in there, and I loved the underdeveloped romance. I thought the ending was a little bit rushed, and I wanted like a little bit more explanation, but we definitely are getting book 2. I really loved all the various locations that we went to, and I thought that the political stuff and the time period affected her character was really, really interesting. I definitely did like the lead character of Anna, and she was definitely a fun character to read from, and I really loved all the different magic systems that we were exposed to. So I really did like it. I just wish I maybe didn't have read it during a readathon, but overall I was really happy that I read it, and I will definitely be checking out book 2 because I have an arc that I got at New York City Comic Con. So overall I gave this book like 3.5 stars, and it was actually a super fun read. So if you've not checked out this series, I highly recommend that you do. I do say that the pacing gets a little bit slow at points, and I think that maybe that was because for me, like I read it so fast, so that the pacing maybe wasn't an issue for me, but I know that other people that have read the series have complained about it. So just as a note, but I will definitely be checking out book 2 hopefully in 2018, which is only a couple of hours away. Pretty Dead Girls and Blood Rose Rebellion in basically like a day, because I read them Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the next day on Thursday I wound up going to the city to meet up with a couple of friends, and I picked up the Cresswell Praet that night, and I actually basically read this book in basically a full day, and I've actually had this book on my TBR for so long. I actually got it 2 years ago at Barnes & Noble Fest, and it sounded like a really cool story. It definitely has vibes of Flowers in the Attic. It follows this girl named Cassell and her 5 siblings, and her father is basically definitely a vindictive man, but he also, it's just like he's a very, 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 very creepy guy, and it basically follows them throughout this experience, and it definitely Flowers in the Attic. But when, her father basically tells them that they are going to go back to heaven, it kind of turns her world upside down. I really did like the book. I thought it was this would have been a very, very good like readathon book to read all in one day, because it was definitely very, very fast paced. The characters were not as well developed as I wanted them to be. I just wanted them to be a little bit more. I wanted the ending to be explained a little bit more. But I did like the Flowers in the Attic vibe. It was not as creepy as the Flower in the Attic vibe, but there was definitely some like hints to it that it could have gone that way. I thought the mother's presence in this book was super interesting. I just wanted to know more about the mother in this book. But overall, I really did like all the characters. I just wanted to know a little bit more about them. So I gave this book 3 stars, and I would definitely be curious to be checking more by Alyssa Wass. But this was probably my least favorite of my books that I read during the readathon, but I still thought it was fun, and it was a fun, quick read that I read in about a day. I was supposed to read Serafina by Rachel Hartman, but it was just too long, and I wanted to get a really, really short book to finish up 2018. So I looked around my room, and I found a really short book, which is All We Can Do Is Wait by Richard Lawson. This doesn't come out until February 2018. But I love this book. I just finished it. This is the book I was waiting for so I can actually do my wrap up. But it was so, so good. And basically it follows these 5 characters. It takes place in Boston. And there is a bridge collapse. And these 5 characters wind up meeting in a hospital room. And they're all waiting to see if someone that they love has survived this tragic accident. So you not only get the present story, but you also get their point of view and what has happened in the last year of their life leading up to this moment. It was so well done. I was really only going to give this book 4 stars because I thought I could predict this entire story, but I was very, very wrong. So it got me a 5 stars. I loved all the characters. I thought that the characters were so well drawn. It was really, really diverse, and I loved all the issues that were addressed in this novel. There was like parental drama, there was LGBTQ stories, There was, you know, death in other aspects of life, and I just really, really loved it. I was really impressed by this. I was equally invested in all the characters, and I think that if you read this story, you will not only become emotionally invested in everyone, but just want everyone to be okay. I think the title, All We Can Do Is Wait, is something that just really, really struck me, and I was really emotionally invested in this story. So I highly recommend that you definitely check this out come February. I will be doing a non-spoiler video review and also a blog post when it gets closer to the release date, but I really love this. I gave it 5 stars, and it was the perfect book to end 2017. I really, really hope that you will consider checking this out in February because I really enjoyed it. And if you like books like like any books about strangers meeting, that's like the best, because like you know these characters met in a random circumstance and then this happens. I think another similar book like that is like The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. Strangers meeting, I love books like that, or like or just drama that happens in one night. I love books like that, so this was actually a really, really strong book for me. So guys, sorry for this long video. I've been doing a lot of long videos this week, but those are all the books that I read in December, and now I'm going to show you guys what I hope to read in January. Let me know in the comments what you read in December and what was your top rated book of the month and what you hope to read in January, because I'm super excited. It has been a pleasure blogging with you guys this year. I hope you guys will stick around for 2018 because I am so excited to see what content I will be giving you. I have already started planning some videos and I'm super excited to share them with you all. So I hope you guys are having a great New Year's Eve, and I'll see you guys in 2018. Bye!